This is Duke University.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me back there? Wave your hand if you can hear me. Hello. Okay, we're having some microphone challenges here, but we are going to jump right in. Welcome to the 16th DukeGEN Startup Showcase. My name is Howie Ree. I work at Duke University, where I help run a bunch of entrepreneurship programs. I'm delighted to be here with you today. I'm so sorry that we scheduled over Game 5 of the Warriors versus the Cavs. Are there any Warriors fans in the audience? Let's hear you. They cannot hear me in the back. You know what? Okay. Well, I'm just going to shout as loud as I can. I know that some of you are trying not to know the score of the Warriors game before you get home and watch it on TiVo. I see a couple hands there, so I guess if we hear any screams from the audience, we won't know if they're Warriors or Cavs fans, so let's just try not to say what the score is, I guess. Okay, so this is a great event which brings the Duke community together. We have a number of Duke panelists here on my left who are going to introduce themselves in a little bit. And we have a number of Duke startups that are going to present. Before I begin that part, I just want to recognize all of the volunteers that have helped put today's event together. So if you could stand and be recognized, all the people that have helped organize: Chase Olivieri, Kelly Garvey, David Perkins, Paul Jacobs, Bobby Brennan, Tracy Henson, Matt Poyden, Jen Snook. I hope I didn't leave anybody off there, but let's just give a round of applause to everybody that helped us. Such a great team effort here. So before we begin the slides here, I just want to ask, how many of you is this your first DukeGEN event? This is the first time you've been to a DukeGEN event. Okay, wow. So about half of you, okay? That's pretty typical for us. So I'm going to talk you through a little bit on the background on DukeGEN. I apologize, I'm screaming. Can people in the back hear me okay? Yeah? Okay, good. Do I need to scream? Kind of? No? Kind of? All right, sort of. All right. I know. Unfortunately, they're both kind of the same. A little better? I just need to lean over like this. Okay, maybe I'll just do that just for the sake of audio fidelity. Okay, so the way that DukeGEN started is in 2008, we asked this question: how do you connect Dukies interested in startups? Because back in 2008, if you were interested in startups, you just kind of didn't know who else to speak to in the Duke community. So we created DukeGEN, the Duke Global Entrepreneurship Network. And the goal of DukeGEN is productive connections. And I hope that each of you tonight makes at least one interesting connection with another Duke person here in the audience. So since that time, we started with a LinkedIn group, and we've actually grown to become the largest university-based entrepreneurship group on LinkedIn. We're the third largest official Duke University group. And so we've gone from 2008 with 0 Dukies to about 8,000 Dukies in the group right now. And so that leads to a lot of interesting things. As you know, you can have interesting discussions once you have a lot of people in the group. Here's an alum from Boston who was asking about some advice on naming her company. A couple years ago, we also created a DukeGEN Facebook group, which I encourage all of you to join. We now have about 3,500 members. This is probably the most active DukeGEN community we have. We have posts there most days with a lot of announcements, including startups that got funded, or startups that have been acquired, or startups that are hiring, all sorts of things. After we started the LinkedIn group, we said, hey, let's do some interesting stuff in person, and we started hosting these events organized by Duke alumni volunteers, just like the Duke alumni that are here in the audience today. We just said, hey, if you're in a city and you want to host an event for Duke folks interested in entrepreneurship, we're going to host it on the same night, and just go ahead and find a bar, and we're going to help get the word out. So since 2009, when we first did that, we've hosted about 300 events in many of the locations listed here and some more. We've had about 15,000 Duke alumni attend those events. It's been a really successful series. The next event is actually coming up here on August 9th. You'll see a little bit more information about that later. We've created lists to help Duke alumni, including lists of investors that we share pretty regularly, lists of other Duke alums that have started companies, including some really interesting ones here that you might recognize: Melissa and Doug, Mint.com, Zico Coconut Water. Those were all started by Duke alums. And in 2010, a Duke alum who's usually on our panel here, but who has gone to the Warriors game tonight, Jim Scheinman, said, "Hey, this is great what you're doing with DukeGEN, but you know what would be really cool would be if Duke startups pitched to Duke investors in front of a Duke audience." So that's where the idea for tonight's event came together. May 2010 in San Francisco was our first event. This was at the old Dog Patch Labs. Our angels that night were Ryan Spoon, Josh Felser, Aaron Patzer, and Jim Scheinman. And it was a great event. We had about 70 Duke alums there that night. Tonight we have 500 Duke alums at RSVP for the event, so it's grown a little bit since then. It was such a successful event that we said, hey, let's take this formula to New York City. So in 2010 of New York City, in October 2010, we took it to New York City. Again, Duke startups pitching to Duke investors in front of a Duke audience. And so since then, there have been a lot of interesting Duke stories. I've just highlighted a few of them. I'm going to call out a couple of them. So last year at this event, Mike, raise your hand if you're here in the audience. Mike Brown there. Mike was contacted after he pitched at the event by a person in the audience who said, hey, I think I might want to invest in your company. And I hope it's okay that I say, I guess it's already on the slide, so I'm sorry it's not okay, but that person ended up investing $100K. Mike has gone on to go to 500 startups and is doing great. Catherine Minshew, she pitched in 2011. She's started the Muse, which went to Y Combinator. They've raised more than 1.2 million, although that's a little bit outdated. Andrew Dietrich, they just launched Final Card, which is a new credit card. They raised $1 million shortly after being here, and a bunch of other examples there. So some of the companies that you see here are going to have real outcomes after the event. So different ways to get involved. Like I said, join our Facebook group, join our LinkedIn group. I'm not going to read all these off, but on the back of your programs, and for those of you in the back, I hope there's extra programs on the back table. There's a bunch of ways that you can get involved in DukeGEN. So just a few updates from campus. I'm going to invite my colleagues Salman Azar soon and John Gushik to talk about a couple different things. But just a couple updates from campus, since I know for many of you, you haven't been on campus in a little while. If you're at a startup and you want to offer internships for Duke students, we have a program called Startup Connect, where you can just send me an email and we will post your internship. We've posted about 70 internships over the last month and helped a lot of students get internships at startups, including many in the Bay Area. We also have an on-campus networking fair for Startup Connect. It's usually every February, and so if you want to come back to campus to recruit, that's a great event for you so that you're not next to huge multi-billion-dollar companies in your booths. You're next to other startups, and you can meet a lot of students at that event. I'm going to invite my colleague Salman Azar right now to talk about a program that we've been running here for the last few years called Duke in Silicon Valley. Here you go, Salman.
So Duke in Silicon Valley is a... I haven't even said anything, so please don't applaud. Wait until at least. So we run a program called Duke in Silicon Valley. We've been doing it for about 7 years or so. So I'm teaching it this summer, and I have a whole bunch of students here. If you could just, yay! They're here. They had a huge homework assignment due today that they were going to kind of dump, in the interest of that. So I did the honorable thing and gave them an extension for 24 hours. We basically do an interactive kind of discussion here, and it is a combination of theory and practice. I had my slides and everything worked out for the program, and then after the first week, one of the students who was sitting right there, called Ismail, sent me, why don't you teach like this instead of this? And I said, that's going to be harder for you because rather than give you information, I'm going to be asking questions. So I give them now the concepts and ask them for examples of those concepts, which is a lot tougher, but they're all embracing that new way, which is much tougher for them and much more challenging. So what we do is typically in the mornings, we would do a class session or a meeting, and the meeting is usually about 2 hours of discussion with some breaks in the middle. We usually have a guest speaker also come in for another hour or 45 minutes. So about 3 hours in the morning we spend at Plug and Play in Silicon Valley, and then in the afternoons they go visit the companies, to see some of the concepts that we have learned in action. So companies like Apple, Google, Facebook, and then also some smaller startups like Idea Couture and so on. So they see some of the things that we do in action as a result. And it seems like they're having a good time. At least they are telling me they're having a good time. And I feel they're learning a lot, and I'm really pushing them hard. And I'm learning a lot as well in the process. So that's basically it.
Thank you, Solomon. Let's give him a hand. Next up is John Lushik, who runs the Duke Angel Network.
So I have an office next to Howie, so usually I get in the same wavelength and I talk loud and I talk really fast, but I'm going to promise I calm down. I can hear all his conversations next door in my office. So I'm managing director of the Duke Angel Network. It's an angel network we started a couple of years ago. In fact, I think it was a DukeGEN event where we kind of announced the launch. We've had a pretty good 2 years. We've grown to over 100 members. All of our members are accredited individual investors. They all have some kind of Duke affiliation, so they're mostly Duke alums, and we also have parents of students, and we have faculty members. We've invested in 16 companies already over the first 2 years. We put $5 million to work in seed and Series A rounds. We have a professionally managed team that exists within Duke that processes all the deals, and then our members invest directly in the companies. And we invest all over the country. So we have some startups out here. I know we've got at least one CEO in our portfolio in the audience, companies in the RTP area, but also in Boston, New York, Austin, Atlanta, and the Bay Area. So if you're interested as an angel investor in getting involved, or certainly if you're looking for funding and you have a Duke affiliation, which I think counts for pretty much everyone in the room, let us know. We'd be happy to talk to you.
All right. Thank you very much, John. So now we're going to get to the main part of the event here. I'm going to have each of our panelists come up here and introduce themselves, starting with Bob. Bob, come on up here and introduce yourself and maybe say one thing you're looking for tonight from the presenters.
Thank you, Howie. I think Howie said that there's been 300 DukeGEN events since the start. How many of those have you personally attended? 300.
No, I only attend the ones that are in North Carolina or New York right here.
I just want to smart. I just want to thank you. I mean, every year I look forward to this event. I'm a Duke Law School class of 1997, so a lot has changed at the university in the time that, since I've been there, and I'm excited about all of this energy that we're seeing. And, this is just one stop along the way, but I think that there's a lot of really interesting sort of attributes to this particular ecosystem. I've been out here since 1999 and have been building companies, mostly in software, technology businesses, and have been investing sort of along the way. I've invested at sort of all stages of the asset class, but in particular, I'm personally drawn to the early stage activity, and the whole process of starting companies is just, I think, incredible. And it really was at Duke when I was at law school, and I would take some classes over at Fuqua as well, that I personally fell in love with companies. There wasn't this type of vibrant ecosystem to start a business and to access capital that you have today. So I'm just excited to be a small part of it and looking forward to all the pitches. So.
Thank you, Brad.
Hey, I'm Brad Lightcap. This is my first year on the panel. Maybe my last, we'll see. But, I work at Y Combinator. I work for a later stage fund at Y Combinator, so you probably know the accelerator Y Combinator that basically has what's called batches. We do 2 of those a year, about 120 companies per batch. So I see this actually like 250 times per year. It's cool that this is the all Duke one, but my fund is slightly later, so we actually exist to support Y Combinator companies at a later stage in life. Prior to that, I was at Dropbox, spent 2.5 years there, just across kind of a finance and ops, bunch of finance and ops capacities. But yeah, excited to see what folks have to show tonight. I've always been kind of impressed just every time I meet a Duke founder, and you saw a couple of them on the slide that Howie showed. Catherine Minshew from the Muse was a YC company, and then Final was also actually a YC company. But for whatever reason, Duke founders, they just show up with a real passion and a real willingness to build something that matters, which is important because there's a lot getting built, I think, that varies in levels of impact on the world and on society. And for whatever reason, Duke founders just always show up with a really mission-driven company and mission-driven team. So hopefully see more of that.
Hi guys, my name is Song Ding. I graduated Duke in 2012. I currently am an investor on the team at Comcast Ventures. So when people hear that, they'll often ask if I invest in cable towers and or media companies. And the answer to that is yes, there are people on my team who focus on those areas of investments, but Comcast Ventures is actually a financial returns-oriented investment fund. So that means we can invest in things that have very little to do with Comcast, NBC, Universal, or a lot. So I specifically focus on investments in retail, e-commerce, marketplaces, mostly focusing on early stage seed, Series A, Series B. And I'd just like to thank Howie and the team for putting together such a great event and look forward to hearing all the pitches from the founders today.
Next up, Diana Moldavsky. And I do want to say there's just one area in the program here. It does list Diana as being part of 500 Startups, which she was previously, but she's not currently with 500 Startups anymore.
Thanks, Howard. So I'm Diana Moldavsky. I was most recently a partner in 500 Startups, and prior to that I was running business side of tech startups for 15 years. And at the moment I'm angel investing and advising startups. A lot of it is early stage, but also some later stage as well. This is my second year being on this panel, and really excited to see more founders and more people joining this event, and really excited with everything that you have going on, Howie. So thank you for having me, and thanks. Looking forward to all the pitches.
Next up is Jillian Manis. Jillian, I think, deserves the award for the person that has made the greatest effort to be here tonight. She raffled her Game 5 tickets away because she knew she was committed to this event. So let's give a big round of applause to Jillian.
I always tell my kids, both who went to Duke, and I see that I'm the only parent here, that your word is everything. You give your word and you stick to it. And if you say you're going to show up, you show up. And so I showed up, and I'm crying. No, I'm not. I'm fine. Okay. I'm managing partner of Structure Capital. We invest in underutilized assets and excess capacity. So in other words, doing more with what we have. We do a lot of work around branding. We feel if you cannot talk about your company, you will not be able to sell your company. So we work with we're early stage. We work a lot with brand narrative, brand identity, driving that into with hackathons in our company. With our companies, we have Ops Camp and Brand Camp, so we're sort of a little bit of a different seed fund with a lot of educational pieces that are part of our investment. I'm very interested in this because not only am I a proud parent, I went to the London School of Economics, but don't hold that against me, because I do love Duke and what you're doing, but I also sit on the Duke Engage board. And for those of you who know Duke Engage, it is mission driven. I mean, it is. So what I look for in companies is, yes, the return, absolutely, but it's what is your mission? What is the why? What is the emotional connection to the product, and what should our emotional connection be to the product going forward for all of us, not just for the investor? So I'm interested in your why tonight. I'm hearing your why, not just your what and your how. And for those of you, and I'm sure you all know Simon Sinek's TED Talk. If you haven't watched it. For us, it's about the why first. That's it.
Go Dubs.
Hi everyone, I'm Robert Ravanchanas. I'm an associate at Maven Ventures. We focus on early stage consumer software and autonomous vehicle startups. The founder of the firm, Jim Scheinman, is also a Duke alum, and we're a 3-person team, so we are 2/3 Duke alums. So I won't publicize the bias towards Duke startups, but definitely a bit of a bias there, so looking forward to meeting all the companies tonight. And as far as something that the startups that are pitching tonight can focus on for what we look for is being consumer focused. We look for companies that will be that will impact the lives of many consumers at scale. So focusing on that is something we look forward to, and go Duke.
Hey everyone, Sonny Cantha, Duke class of '09. Howie and I go way back. He has done so much, just echoing what some others have said, to build entrepreneurship within Duke. I think he deserves a ton of credit, and one of the biggest reasons all of us are here right now. So I did investment banking right after Duke. I don't know if you guys in the back even know what that is anymore, but it's, a lot of us used to go to Wall Street. I know you're all going to Google and Amazon and Facebook and whatever these days, but I did that for a couple of years. I did investing right after that, and it naturally brought me out here to Silicon Valley, where I was at Norwest Venture Partners for a few years. And I think a lot of you who are investing or who are thinking about it know the drill. You start investing, you start to get really involved with these founders, these companies, and you're like, darn, I'm going to go do that, or I'm going to be on a team, I'm going to actually work on building something. So I didn't quite do that, but I ended up at Quotient Technology, which most of you know previously as Coupons.com. We rebranded a couple years ago or so. But I run corporate development there, so what's really cool is that I still get to see the spectrum of all the different companies out here in the Valley and elsewhere that could be interesting to us to acquire or to partner with. And it's really quite incredible how much the Duke name and Duke folks have really increased, or have really started to show up a lot more now than they did even just 2 or 3 years ago. And that's what's really impressive. I think the fact that the group here is so large, and we've got folks all over the U.S. that are continuing to build companies, that are joining quickly growing companies. It's awesome to see that. And I still remember how we were working on the Innovation Entrepreneurship Initiative, how proud we were that the computer science major number went from double digits to triple digits, and all of a sudden we saw a huge influx of interest in entrepreneurship. So really excited to be here tonight to hear the stories of these founders, and always feel free to reach out to me if you guys want to talk about entrepreneurship at Duke as well.
Hi, I'm Tim. Tim Wilson with Arteman Ventures. We're early stage guys. We are sector confused, which means we have an investment in just about any sector that you can think of, from materials, ag tech, healthcare, diagnostics, to financial services, to whatever, ed tech. We are managing about $1 billion under management right now. My own story, I went to Fuqua when, you can see by this slide, I outdate most of the people on the panel. And I was there when Coach K showed up. I was there when Fuqua was named.
Remember the wheel?
Yeah, I remember all that. So I've been around a long time. I actually started a company when I was at Fuqua in 1983, a frozen yogurt company in Texas. So I never went to school much in my second year. And that was an interesting one. But now part of Arteman, we do. We just love being here. I didn't grow up on this coast, so when I got out here, I looked at all my Stanford compadres, and they're like, all over Stanford. And I'm going, where are the Dukies? And there were 7 of us. And that was 15 years ago. We started hanging out a few times, then Howie got involved. So it's come a long way. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Thanks for being here. I look forward to learning more about tonight.
Hi, my name is Yuna, and I'm the founder of Simple Habit. Simple Habit is a 5-minute meditation app for busy people. I started the company about a year ago. We're a YC company. And I started this company because I was so stressed at my previous startup, which I sold 2 years out, or I started 2 years out of college, and we sold about 3 years later. For tonight, one thing that I've learned through startups was that it's so hard that unless you have a mission and a passion behind it, that it's really hard to stick through it. So for tonight's companies, I would be looking for mission behind the business model. Thank you.
And just to brag for Yunha, you just raised $2.5 million. Is that correct? Yes. Let's give her a round of applause. Okay, so here's the microphone for the panelists, and now we're going to start the main event. So when we first started this event 7 years ago, each company had like 10 minutes to present, and then it whittled down to 7 minutes, and we had so much demand for teams that wanted to present, and it's so hard to say no to Duke Startup saying you can't present, that we've let in more teams, but what that means is that they have fewer minutes to present. So they have 4 minutes to present, which I think is what YC does and 500 Startups does. So it's a short time, but it's not unreasonably short. So each company will have 4 minutes to present, and then there's going to be one question from our group of panelists for each company. What's going to happen after that is that the judges are going to leave, they're going to select their favorite winner, and then you, the audience, you're going to have a chance to vote by text message for your favorite company, and then we're going to do a Q&A with all the teams. Also, I just want to announce, we do usually go out afterwards for an after party. We go next door to, what's it called, the firehouse? Cliff House. Cliff House. All right, we'll get you those details later, but if you want to join us for the after party, please do join us. Okay. So with that, let's go ahead and begin the competition. Steve, you ready? All right. First up is Cameo. Let's give a round of applause.
Hi everyone, and before we get started, let's give Howie one more round of applause. Kevin and I actually both Dukies. I'm 2010, he's 2012, and through Howie actually got 6 Duke interns working with us this summer. So our company's like literally being powered by Duke interns. If you haven't taken advantage of that, I highly recommend it. Guys, thanks for having us. So I'm the CEO and co-founder of a company called Cameo. What we do, we created a platform where people can book personalized video shout-outs from their favorite athletes, actors, celebrities, or influencers. So think of all you guys in the room, probably somebody had a daughter or a son just graduating high school. Imagine if you could book Coach K to congratulate them on graduating high school, and tell them that you can't wait to see them in the stands at Cameron Indoor Stadium. That's essentially the platform that we built and what's possible with our platform. So we'll first start by showing an example of a Cameo.
Hey Brandon, it's Cassius Marsh from the Seahawks, man. I just want to say congratulations on Maverick. And, I'm sure if he gets your athletic ability, he'll be playing for the Seahawks one day, man. Go Hawks.
So when we first started thinking about Cameo, the idea actually came up right after my grandmother's funeral. She died in October. Our other co-founder, Martin Blanco, he's an NFL agent, and one thing we were trying to do was find new ways for these people who have limited time in the spotlight to actually come up and monetize their social following. Now as we proceed, one thing that we know, because of social media, stars are actually more unattainable to their biggest fans than they ever have been. There's so many people trying to come out them. If you can imagine someone like a Justin Bieber or The Rock, how many times they get Instagram shout-outs or requests for autographs or requests for meetups. That firewall's there, so what they do, they turn off their DMs. They have a whole team of managers managing their social media. So despite the fact that all these people are out there trying to get at them, they're actually harder to reach than ever before. And on top of that, everyday social media is impersonal and it doesn't pay the bills. People spend thousands of hours building up these huge social followings. Even Devin, my co-founder, in 2014, he quit Microsoft, and him and his roommate Cody traveled the world and actually amassed a 500,000 follower account on Vine. Yet both of them ended up having to move back to LA and work, and otherwise I wouldn't have a CTO right now. So we're happy that it worked out that way. One of the things that Cameo does that's completely different, it lets celebrities monetize their social following while connecting with their fans in a way that enhances brand value. We all follow athletes or actors or Instagram models, and you'll see them post something like this: buy this protein shake or wear this swimsuit. Now, if somebody did that every day, what would happen? Over time, they lose brand equity, and it ends up being something that hurts them rather than helps their brand. So what we do differently than any other social influencer platform that exists is our videos don't actually go on their profile, they go on the profile of the customer. So now instead of a situation where somebody is putting this out there, we're actually seeing that our customers are actually paying fans for life of this athlete, actor, or influencer, and all their loved ones and family and friends that get these videos, they become even bigger fans of the people than they were before. So a good case study, like one of our influencers, Cody Ko, he is a Dukie 2012, his roommate. You know, just so far, we're a pretty early stage company, but he's making $2,100 an hour on our platform. The way it works, people set their own price. We take 25%, Talon takes 75%, and we're totally price agnostic. So if somebody wanted to be $100,000, they could do that. If someone wants to do it for $5,000, they could do that. Talon is also able to do it for charity as well. But there's one last thing I want to show. Video.
Mine has something to say.
Hey Reese, it's Cassius Mars. Just here chilling on a Thursday afternoon. I heard you one of my big fans. I appreciate you being out there screaming for me. I'm sure you were screaming on that Thursday night sack. Just wanted to wish you a happy 16th birthday. I know it's a little late, but I'm sure you had a great day. Go Hawks, and I just appreciate you being a fan.
We love this product because it helps us scale inspiration. Thank you guys.
Question from our panelists. Who would like to ask a question? Jillian, I see a question formulating in your mind. Also, we do have a few empty seats up here. If anybody that back there wants to come, we've got at least 3 empty seats up here. So go ahead, Jillian.
So one of the biggest barriers to talent, are the managers, and so there's a lot of buy-in. So I want you to talk a little bit about barrier in terms of the friction point of some of these, some of these influencers, some of these celebrities. And also a little bit about scaling this, because obviously I think that might be a little bit of difficulty as well.
Yeah, so that's a great question. To be honest, so far what we're seeing is that the social media managers are actually the biggest advocates of getting this. So a real life example, Lance Thomas, who many of you guys remember, 2010 national champion at Duke, he came on their platform and his manager loved it so much that she's gotten 15 of her other people and everybody, she's yelling off the rooftops, saying that this is something she'd been trying to do with her player for years. As far as scale, it's really interesting. So we mentioned Cody's a guy making literally $2,100 an hour on our platform today. He's the 54,000th most followed person on Instagram. There's over 100,000 people out there with over 100,000 Instagram followers, and there's literally more of these people coming up every single day.
So how many do you have?
Right now we have 80.
80?
80, yep.
80, okay.
Okay. Thank you so much, Jillian. Appreciate it. Let's give Stephen one more hand.
Yeah, if you're an engineer, come talk to us.
I like it. Always hustling. Okay. Next up is LivingLAB. Let's give them a round of applause.
Hey everyone, thank you very much for your time. My name is Mitchel, Gorecki, and I'm here to represent LivingLAB. I am a Duke undergrad of 2013. I studied biomedical engineering, mechanical engineering, economics, and finance. And I'm currently a 2018 Fuqua student. So what is LivingLAB? Essentially, a couple years ago, I found myself in a situation where I was struggling to pay rent. I had a house that cost me $950 a month. It was 3 bedrooms. So I did the really logical thing of, well, I'm going to go get roommates. And so what's the reasonable cost? Divide by 3, $316 a month. Well, when you post that on Craigslist, you get a lot of applicants. So what I did is I interviewed a lot of them, 36 of them, found 10 I like, let them have a bidding war, and wound up with 3 people willing to pay me $900 a month for a bedroom whose house only cost me $950. And so you sit there, you go, wait a minute, you can't be turning this profit on a house you don't own. And so what is this? And that really gets us into our problem. And the problem is that it's really hard to find roommates, and it's really hard to take those group preferences and find a house to live in. And on the landlord side, it's really hard to find people you trust who are going to destroy your home, and it's really difficult to make sure they're actually going to pay you rent on time, which is where LivingLAB steps in. So essentially what we are is we're a platform for creating and managing co-living contracts. So we'll dive right in. Here's what it looks like. It's completely mobile right now. The user is presented with a UI where you have a house, bedroom, price, and possible roommates. You can say no to an element by swiping left, or yes to the whole by swiping right. And what we do is we build these clicks, where a click is a grouping of individuals for preferences to themselves, as well as into a house at a dollar figure. And once a click is created, we're able to execute on that contract with that landlord. And so why is that special, and how do we make money doing this? We'll approach a landlord, and maybe that home rents for $1,000 a month, and we'll offer them $12 grand up front. That essentially turns their home into a zero-risk security. Then we can list that property on our platform and get $700 a bedroom times 3, and suddenly we've made $13,200 for the year on an asset that's not ours. And so we piloted this model across 7 homes in Durham, North Carolina. And we're going to take a little bit of a look at some of the data we collected here. So here just are our 3-bedroom segments. And the key factor here is at the bottom line, we were able to raise the average rent by 48% on these properties. That meant that we could charge $4,400 per tenant per year to create and manage these contracts. So who are these people? They are graduate students and young professionals who really value money, time, and social network. In terms of the actual landlords, they're essentially seeking higher return for less effort. So we went and we talked to a huge number of these people, 100 of them. We found that 45% of them already had roommates, and that 70% of them really wanted roommates, but couldn't actually pull that contract together. And the crazy thing is that they were paying twice as much money for half as much square footage in their current contracts, and that they were valuing their time at $50 an hour. So the things that we really can't evaluate are how much time are we actually saving these people on top of the better contract we're able to offer them. The next question is how many people could we actually cater this service to? Well, there's 44 million homes in the US that are currently in the rental market, 56 million individuals who are under the age of 30 who would qualify for this service, and 1 in 3 of those are already currently in a shared living situation, which means at $4,400 a tenant, that creates a market cap of about $82 billion for LivingLAB. So who is helping drive this vision with us? And so these are our advisors and our partners, a couple of Duke guys on there, notably George Northup. And we're really hoping to leverage this network to really push forward with LivingLAB. Thank you very much for your time.
Mitchel, how much capital do you think you need to really scale this business into whatever number of geographies you think are going to kind of have that demonstrable set of metrics upon which you can scale?
So currently the biggest cost for the platform is actually building and managing the properties on it from the engineering talent side. We encourage other management firms to partake in the actual physical management of the properties. So in terms of cost to get us off the ground, it took a 2-person team to actually build the first version of the platform. I'm imagining it would take a 10-person team to have a fully fledged platform that could operate over cities such as San Fran. So I would put that number at hopefully and less than $5 million if I had to pick a number.
Okay. Is that including the deposit, the payment? You say you're paying me up front as a landlord, so you have cash flow questions there.
Correct.
Sorry, one question for...
We'll connect afterwards.
Sorry about that, just to keep it fair. Thank you, though. Okay, thank you. Okay.
Next up is Quilt Data. Let's give him a hand.
Thanks, Howie. It's such an honor to be here at DukeGEN with such great companies and for people who fill the room during the Warriors game. Instant data access to help humans and machines learn faster. That's pretty complicated. But let me start with the actual why conversation. I was talking to a woman who's running a nonprofit in Kenya, and she said the biggest problem she faces in Kenya is corruption. And she said something surprising me. She said, the way to fight corruption is public shaming. And I thought, well, that sounded like publicity, tar and feathering. What does she mean? It actually meant data. What it meant for her is evidence, irrefutable evidence of people's actions. And that came in the form of data, and specifically integrating multiple sources of data and tracking them and showing that exactly where they came from and they couldn't be doubted. And that's the system that we're trying to build at Quilt. At Quilt, we're a team of 3 computer scientists and engineers dedicated to this passion of helping the scientists, the researchers, the data analysts bring together the information they need. So many of the decisions today are made based on data. And in fact, we think in the future, we advocate that more of them should be. Even if those decisions are made more and more often by machines, it turns out that even with machine learning, the data that you feed the models is the key to how good those models perform. So what's the solution? Our how we think we can do this. As software developers, we've seen incredible tools in software development. We want to now let people manage data like we manage our code. Code management is a completely solved problem. No software engineer today worries about how they work with their team. These workflows have been executed over and over again, fine-tuned, and the tools are there to match them. Data management is at least a decade behind. So at Quilt, we're building GitHub for data. In the data evolution, we've seen tools and systems grow to immense scale. And in this big data era that we're in, and maybe even we're beyond the big data era, we have immense scale to store as much data as we want, immense amounts of compute power to run all kinds of analytics over that in many different languages and many different tools. Scale is not the problem. What's missing today is how to connect all of these different analytics tools, all of this different data coming from all kinds of different sources in a way that makes sense, in a way that's trusted. At Quilt, we're building a virtualized data platform for this era. We're capitalizing on, or we're building on an abstraction that's gaining presence. It's called data packages that are bundling data and metadata together, regardless of where those data come from and what form it takes. What we're giving to data scientists is a consistent naming and versioning, whether they're working on their laptops or in the clouds. And all of their analysis tools can work together in exactly the same system. We're rolling out this summer with a freemium business model so that producers of public data can list their data sets and publish them for free. We'll deliver them in our high-performance delivery network. We're going to generate our revenue from paid private accounts and, most importantly, from enterprise accounts. We've been surprised at how quickly we've been approached from enterprises who have high security concerns. They want to run their own version of our service on their on-prem servers. This is following in business examples of several successful companies in the open source and developer tools space. In short, we're Quilt. We're building GitHub for big data. Anyone who's a Python data scientist, please, please, please contact me or go to our website, and I'd love to talk your ear off about what we're doing. Important part. We'll be raising a seed round at the end of this summer. We're looking to scale up particularly our enterprise offering and hire a couple of more developers. We're talking about that afterwards too. Thanks.
So you haven't talked about what kind of traction you are gaining, especially conversion from freemium to paid models.
What we have right now is a small number of core users in the science space. We haven't even turned on payments. We're hoping to do that in the middle of this summer.
Okay. Thank you very much, Kevin. Let's give him a hand.
right. Next up is Scrumpt.
Hello, my name is Bri James of Duke Law 2010. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Scrumpt, and we are a lunch kit subscription for kids. Now, if you have kids, this may be a scene from your morning this morning, right? On top of everything you have to do to get your kids ready for the day is make them lunch. And not just any lunch, a lunch they'll actually eat, and one that you can feel good about. Now, in America, there's almost 12 million children between the ages of 5 and 11, Scrumpt's target market, that bring a home-packed lunch to school. With parents spending between $3 and $5 a day, that represents just over an $11.5 billion market. And parents make their kids' lunches for a lot of reasons. 1, their kids are picky. 2, their kids have allergies. 3, they don't want their kids to have to suffer through a lunch that looks like this. But what if there was no headache and you could give your kid a lunch that looks like this? Now this is a Scrumpt lunch. And we initially launched Scrumpt as a dry goods lunch kit subscription. So we worked with nutritionists and national CPG brands to create meal plans and couple those meal plans with all of the non-perishable portion ingredients that parents need to make their little one's lunch. We delivered over 42,000 of these lunch kits to families across America. But parents were clamoring for something more. They wanted all those fresh goodies in their lunch kits, absent having to go to the grocery store. So this past January, we launched Scrumpt Fresh. And here you can see a diversity of lunches that we're currently offering in this summer rotation. Parents can sign up on our website, and every week they can choose from 24 lunches what they want to see in their lunches for the week, delivered directly to their door. And for parents, convenience is always top of mind. And we're excited that we can give something that makes lunch super simple for parents and takes the headache out of the lunch making process. We're also excited to launch an awesome product that is delicious and fun, but also has a nutrition label that doesn't make you cringe. Again, one of the big things is diversity. Kids want to have agency over anything. And if you let them choose what they're eating, it makes a world of difference. We're also really sensitive to, there's a lot of kids out there with food allergies, and parents that have children who have food allergies are more likely to bring a home-packed lunch to school. So we do offer lactose-free, gluten-free, and nut-free options. Given school rules, Scrumpt lunches are universally peanut-free. We've had some amazing traction since launching in January. One of the coolest things have been folks that churned after a week or two of our dry goods meal plan re-onboarded and have been active since day one. Nearly over well over three quarters of our customer base have been active since we launched late January. And with those customers, we're seeing a lifetime value of almost $1,000 per person, and we're only halfway through the year. There's a great group of folks who make all of this possible. We like to say that we're tasked with doing delicious, folks who have breadth and depth of expertise across business, nutrition, marketing, health and nutrition. My mom, who's in the middle there, she is actually my co-founder, and she was a pediatrician at Kaiser for 30 years before retiring and launching Scrumpt. We really want to change the way that kids eat in America, and we were able to scale our dry goods product nationally, and so we're really excited after launching here in the Bay Area. Our kitchen is in Oakland to bring that product to folks across America. If you have kids, you can check out ScrumptFresh.com. We will bring a week's worth of lunches to your door, normal lunch making, and if you want to holler at me after, we have some coupon codes as well. Thanks.
Well, Bri?
Yes.
Is this thing on? Yes. Okay. That was really good, by the way. Very, very interesting idea, something I've never seen before. I think, one thing I want to really get your pulse on it real quick is, if you look at the HelloFreshes of the world, the Blue Aprons of the world, et cetera, there are a few key things that are going to be really tough for those business models to overcome. So, one of which is customer acquisition costs. It's been out of the roof if you look at their numbers and their most recent disclosures. So that's one thing I think that I'd like to understand better how you're going to overcome, and also just distribution network, because fundamentally, couldn't a CPG or another manufacturer just market this on Amazon Fresh or another meal delivery service?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I think the first thing you said was that you haven't seen something else like this. And I think that's true. Kids' lunch just isn't in the same space as a HelloFresh or a Blue Apron, because I could sit here and name a half dozen companies. And when it comes to dinners and meal plans for adults, the market is just so saturated. Like, I can just go to Whole Foods, which is one place, and go to the hot bar or get something to go, or get something to heat up at home. And then I have dozens of delivery services, and then hundreds of restaurants that I could choose from. So right now we're really banking on first mover advantage and trying to get there fast. We've onboarded all of our customers from a previous product who churned, and they were so excited about this. And I think our retention is just a lot different than a Blue Apron. And we're really lucky to be in a place right now where they've made those disclosures, so we can look at those and figure out where we are. And our customer acquisition costs are, 1,000th of what those are. And we'll saturate a lot of those channels early. It was one article in TechCrunch and an email campaign. Both of those were free. And that's got us to kind of where we are now. So we know that's not a long-term plan, but the key is that if we can move fast and move early, we have a retention that's so high that I don't think we'll run into something like a lot of those adult meal plans.
Thank you very much. And we have great distribution.
Okay, next up is Swell.
Hey there, my name is Matt Rising. I'm managing partner and co-founder of Swell Energy and a Duke alum class of 07. Got it. The U.S. electrical grid has been called the largest machine ever built. 180 million wooden poles stretch across the country, powering 99.9% of Americans, 82 million homes. Much of this archaic grid is being replaced by a bidirectional renewable grid that can meet and maintain the ever-growing electrical needs of our country. Batteries are the key to the grid of the future. Consumers want batteries for cheaper, more reliable power. Utilities want batteries for stabilization and support of this new grid. Yet, batteries are perceived as too expensive and too complex. What's been missing is an effective way to package and sell batteries to meet the needs of both utilities and consumers. Swell is a retail energy services network that connects homeowners, renewable energy providers, utilities, and the grid. Swell makes money by building and growing and operating our network. Swell advisors use our software platform to sign up a customer, connecting them with a certified technician. Swell takes a 12% platform fee in this transaction and pays out the advisor and the technician. Advisors get simple, prepackaged offerings to help sell to consumers and tools to help them sell, as well as a suite of services that handle the rest of the process. Certified technicians thrive with our sophisticated workflow rules and project management tools. Swell operates the fleet of batteries as a network, offering services to consumers and utilities as part of our virtual power plant. Consumers get power at its cheapest time, anytime they want, at its cheapest rate anytime they want, and whenever they want, including when the grid goes down. Utilities get power when the grid needs it, saving them from having to buy expensive, dirty power from a peaker plant. As the size of the network grows, so does the value to the grid, and making more money for all the participants in the network. So, to date, Swell's platform's up and running. Over the last 6 months, we've signed up over 500 customers, contracting over $7 million in revenue. We've secured a long-term procurement agreement with Tesla for their home battery product. And we've signed up 3 of the premier regional
solar installers to install our current sales volume. On top of that, we've signed a contract in Orange County with Southern California Edison for the largest residential virtual power plant to date. It's a network of 3,000 homes with batteries plus solar that will reduce demand, peak demand on behalf of SoCal Edison. Founding team includes a founding member of Tesla Energy, an energy regulatory and policy thought leader, and a tech startup attorney. The core team includes solar industry veterans in sales, operation, and finance from companies like Solar City, Sunrun, and time just came up, but focus on California through the end of the year. They're going to take this template and launch it to new markets. Believe that our model of leveraging existing networks in solar and home services, along with establishing large-scale contracts with utilities, is going to help us win the category. Thank you.
So I think I've seen 10 to 15 companies in the space trying to aggregate battery storage capacity to some mission performance and selling either to the resident or back to the grid. You can elaborate a little bit more on what's unique about what you're doing, because there's been projects in Europe, projects in Asia, projects in Australia. So a little bit of color to that.
I think you'd find that there have been some substantial progress in other markets, but yet to be seen that in the U.S. For example, I think our contract with SoCal Edison, for example, is the largest to date, and our volume, we're the largest reseller of the Powerwall in California. So we do believe it's very early in the marketplace, and there's an opportunity for us to take an appliance approach versus a lot of the folks who are in the space who are coming at it from a solar lens to be successful and to be the winning player.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's give a round of applause. All right, so now we've got a little bit of a change up in the program. Tara Mooney with Talon unfortunately couldn't make it tonight. And the next presenter, the Wet Click, they couldn't make it tonight. Instead, we have Dan Evans from RecoverX who will be joining us here to give his pitch. All right, here you go, Dan.
Hey everyone, my name is Dan Evans. I'm the CTO and co-founder of RecoverX. And our mission is to revolutionize injury recovery by making smart injury recovery products. So the first problem we're tackling is cold and hot therapy. So research shows that cold therapy should be between 50 and 60 degrees Fahrenheit, and for hot therapy it should be between 104 and 113 degrees Fahrenheit. Also, cycling between cold and hot has proven to help recovery. The issue is we're still stuck in the ice age, literally. We're still using bags of ice to recover from injuries. Also, a few of us have been known to use a bag of frozen peas. And you're not alone. Even our professional sports stars are still using bags of ice. They melt, they're too cold, and they're just not portable. If you're doing hot therapy, you can choose between a microwavable gel pack, a heating pad, or a hot towel and a hydroculator. These get very hot and they're a hassle to wrap around you. And I just mentioned temperature cycling. All these products you just saw are still one or the other. None of them do both. So you have to ask yourself, what is the perfect product? Well, first of all, it'd be one device that can do both cold and hot. Also something you can take with you wherever you are. Also something that can track data. No recovery device today tracks any sort of data. And also, let's no longer be dependent on ice. So, I'm proud to introduce to you Element. This is the world's first ever electric cold and heat pack. And it can get to both cold and hot therapy temperatures in under 30 seconds and maintains those optimum temperature ranges. Also, it runs on a rechargeable battery, so you can take this anywhere and anytime. Our patent-pending technology is designed to be modular, so that we have a product line that, although we're designed for the knee right now, it's easy to go from shoulder and elbow. It's also connected through your phone. So you download an app, you dial in the exact temperature that you want, and it goes to those temperatures, and the user has total control of the device. Also, we track the data, kind of like how Fitbit does it. Each person has a user profile, and everyone can see, are they using it, how often they're doing it, and we can track that. Why is that important? Because physical therapists currently have no idea whether their patients are doing anything at home. They tell them to do the recommended treatments, and they trust them that they do it. Now with our device, that data goes back to the physical therapists and athletic trainers, who are the ones whose job is to get these athletes and patients back on the field. So we launched a consumer beta test back in October with 10 users. It worked great. The user was able to choose their cold or hot therapy. They used it every day, and we were able to track each one of those uses by the user. Now we're ramping up to launch our pilot test. We're currently halfway through our seed round of $1.5 million that we're raising, and we're launching with several professional teams, the Niners, the Warriors, the Lakers, all these teams. We talk to the head coach, and they immediately see the value proposition to their athletes. The Niners were so impressed, they decided to invest and partner with us. So let's talk about the team that's doing it. Right now, my co-founder and CEO, Alex Aguiar, is a former professional soccer player. He also is Assistant Director of Sports Medicine at UC Davis. I myself, my background in embedded systems and medical devices, and I went to Duke University. Also, our team of engineers, an incredible team. We just hired our intern, who's from Duke University himself. So that's the team doing it. So we're RecoverX, we're revolutionizing injury recovery. So help us take injury from the ice age and bring it to the 21st century. Thanks, guys.
Question. I see Jillian.
So I sit on the digital health board at Stanford and also at medical school.
I think your mic is off.
So one of the things, I'm very loud anyway, so it's not like, yeah. Can you talk a little bit about the unit cost, where it's being manufactured, a little bit about the cost, delivery time, scale, because yeah.
Exactly. So the question was unit cost. So right now it costs us, at scale, $60 per device to make. For hardware devices, you typically charge your customer 3 to 4 times the bill of materials it takes to cost. So we're ranging this around $200 and $250 per unit. On the low end, you have your gel packs that are about $40, $60. On the very high end of what's in an athletic training room today, you have game readies, which are $2,500, and you have hydroculators, which are $2,000, and ice machines, which are about $5,000. So we're pricing it right in between those options.
Where are they manufactured?
Oh, we're manufacturing in Shenzhen, China. We've already been there. We've talked to our suppliers. We know quotes. We've already started ordering parts from Shenzhen, China.
Okay. And how many units do you have now?
We have 10 units, and we're making 100 right now.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up is in-video impressions.
We got a crew in the back. Yeah. That was pathetic. Let's give another round of applause to in-video impressions.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Alrighty. So I am Nikhil Arun. This is Dan Taylor, and we are in video impressions. So why does BMW pay more per viewer for a digital ad than for a billboard on the side of a road? Because of targeting. Because in the digital space, BMW can target the users they want. They can pay more money to target people based on demographics, or pay more money to target people based on locations. Now, the people making these ad platforms, your Googles, Microsofts, Facebooks of the world, are highly incentivized to create as many targeting options as possible because they make money on the targeting options. They even go as far as buying data from other sources, in this case Nielsen, to create these targeting options. And the new buzz in digital advertising is remarketing. BMW can hit ads to people who went to their homepage or read an article about a car. However, digital advertising is not the only fast-growing advertising industry in the United States. A very old advertising industry is seeing a resurgence, and that is product placement. BMW pays millions of dollars for you to see Tom Cruise jump out of a BMW branded car in Mission Impossible. In fact, product placement is growing 14% year over year on a $6 billion base in the United States. It's growing because television commercials are skippable, so people are putting their products in the only thing you won't skip, the content you actually want to watch. However, BMW has a problem. After it pays millions of dollars for that product placement, that's it. They can't track the viewers of the product placement. They cannot advertise to those viewers of the product placement. What BMW wants to do is go to the same advertising systems that they already use and target viewers of their product placement with ads. And that is what in-video impressions enables.
So we source data about where product placement happens in television and film, like this scene from James Bond. And we bring this data together from thousands of different sources. We have proprietary image and audio recognition technology to pull brands and logos out of content. And we're also working with brands, agencies, and studios to understand where they're doing product placement deals. We make this metadata segment available to streaming platforms and data exchanges who can match it to viewers. So let's look at how this works. Google knows the video that you watch on YouTube. We can tell them there's a Chevy product placement in that video, and Chevy can target you with ads when you search for a new car on Google. Vizio and other hardware platforms are starting to sell similar viewership data to brands through DMPs, through data management platforms. We can match our product placement data with their viewer data in those DMPs, and Chevy can target you across the digital world and across addressable TV. Nielsen and TiVo are the largest players in the TV metadata space. We hope to be the first with the full spectrum of brands and products as a metadata supplier, particularly to the advertising industry. So where are we in this process? We're going down to LA next week to finalize deals, data partnerships with the largest product placement agencies in the US. And we have our full end-to-end system built. So we have audio and image recognition software, a database in AWS, and an API to push that out to clients. I want to make one more point here. Nikhil literally ran ad targeting for Microsoft before starting this venture. He ran all ad targeting for Bing ads. And we're building a solution to a problem he had there. He knows exactly how these systems work. We're in the process of signing an NDA with Microsoft, and we expect for them to be our first customer. So as TV viewing shifts to streaming and commercials shift to product placement, we're in the right place at the right time, and we have the team and technology to achieve this vision. Thank you. Yeah, please.
Great. So, yeah. So I guess my question is, some of the competitors you listed, the TAG, Velosa, offer some pretty similar vision and image recognition classification technologies. To do the level that you're suggesting, which is just item and brand recognition, it's a pretty commoditized computer vision solution at this point. So what do you think your defensibility will be versus some of these other people moving into the space?
Yeah, we had that exact conversation with Vizio this week, actually, after they turned down Velosa. And the problem is that there's no context for Velosa. Velosa can tell you that there's a logo on the screen, but they can't tell you anything about it. Not if the brand paid for it, not if the character interacted with it, not the prominence score. And so we sourced that data about the interaction and prominence, as well as if a brand paid for it, because that's what's really important to them when they want to retarget. Right? A Chevy wants to retarget based on the stuff they paid to be in the video. The ancillary Chevys in the background aren't nearly as important.
One more point to that. When we're going to LA, we're actually talking to the CEOs of the two biggest product placement agencies in the US. So we have that first step on something like Velosa. Yeah.
Thank you. Let's give them a round of applause. Okay. Next up is Protean. Let's see if we can get this to work here.
am unfortunately the only one using Google Slides, so give me a second.
I think we got it. I hope we got it.
Yeah, there we go.
All right. I hope that's it. Good luck to you.
Thank you. All right. So my name is Ali Sarafzade, and I'm here with Mohideen Anwar and Penny Bishop. We are from Protean. So my daughter is the inspiration for Protean. At the age of 12, she was doing Lego robotics, young writers seminars on the weekends, coding on Scratch, and even got her poetry published in a local newspaper. Yet her teacher didn't know anything about it. And the story these disparate data points could tell about my daughter would be lost in time. So the learning ecosystem is fractured. Students learn in complicated, new and diverse ways. Learners are trapped in silos that do not communicate or connect in any meaningful way. The solution is a platform that aggregates learning from any source and activates networks in a way that makes a difference in the learner's life. In some learning networks, this is called personalized learning. In others, it's used or called workforce development. With Protean, you build your portfolio. You communicate your learning through a visual timeline. You connect with products, tools, and follow other learners. And you report in a dynamic way that includes predictive analysis, blockchain, and micro-credentialing. In the same way that LinkedIn monetizes professional networks, Salesforce monetizes customer networks, and Facebook monetizes personal networks, Protean looks to monetize learning networks. Leveraging the student's portfolio into direct-to-consumer, enterprise, and revenue-sharing models across the platform. We see 17% growth in ed tech, in what is a $5 trillion market in education worldwide that is only 2% digitized. By 2035, you will need to build 2 universities every day for the next 20 years to meet the educational demand. The ability to aggregate and activate diverse learning alternatives outside of traditional schools will become a driving force in education moving forward. To address this need, the solution has to be a portfolio. It has to aggregate learning. And it has to live and grow with the student. As a result, the competitive landscape suddenly becomes increasingly small. Using a grassroots approach, we grew organically from 180 to 2,000 pilot testers in 8 months, with over 3,000 pieces of learning posted to those portfolios. By expanding on the success of our pilot programs and our strategic partnerships, we anticipate reaching 250,000 users by 2021. But our real competitive advantage is our industry knowledge. We have a great team of experts in education design, education financing, government procurement, and the development of complex platforms. We have a provisional patent, the product is completed and deployed, and we understand the bureaucracy of education. Our ask is $1 million to focus on marketing and user acquisition efforts. Thank you. My name is Ali Sarafzade.
So I guess I have 2 questions. One is, how do you make money? And 2 is 250,000 students by 2021. It seems like a pretty small % of the market. Like, why is that appealing?
So, as for the second question, that, we're doing a grassroots approach because we really want to create sticky relationships with the students. A lot of those students come from strategic partnerships and a direct-to-consumer subscription model. And it's quite frankly going to take time for us to build those strategic partnerships, to bring on featured content into the platform. The reality is that we were just being conservative in our estimates. Now, when you think about a subscription model of $5 a month or $3 a month per student, the 250,000 paid users becomes a pretty large revenue stream pretty quickly. The revenue model actually relies on multiple assets within the platform. So direct to consumer for subscription models, leveraging real estate and eyeballs that are going to be using the platform on a daily basis for content, featured content or featured tools in the platform. So our revenue model is actually diverse.
Very good.
Thank
Give
you.
a round of applause.
Last but not least, kelaHealth.
Okay, last pitch of the evening. I know I stand between you and the after party, so nothing like talking about healthcare enterprise software to get you amped up. But I am Bora Chang. I am a CEO and co-founder of kelaHealth and a trained Duke physician. So the way we've practiced medicine for centuries has been to treat patients when they're sick. But 2 years ago, a team of Duke surgeons, statisticians, and engineers asked ourselves, what if we could flip that paradigm around? What if we could predict who are going to be our sickest patients and prevent them from progressing in their illness? What resulted was kelaHealth, an application that aims to do just that in surgery. So kelaHealth uses machine learning to predict risk for surgical complications and modify those risks by integrating best practice guidelines all in one app. So the surgeons can see accurate, objective risk assessments for each patient and then proactively do something about it. There are 51 million surgeries done in the US every year, and 15% of them result in complications. So that means millions of patients are suffering from complications every year, and they cost about $12,000, which brings up hospital costs 5 times the amount that they should be. And yet, literature shows that half of these complications are avoidable. So the US is spending $45 billion a year on avoidable complications. We're a team of interdisciplinary experts in surgery, in statistics, engineering, and in business. And we really are passionate about decreasing complication rates as well as improving surgical care. We have influencers in the health system and broader surgical network. We have pioneers in applied machine learning. And we also have entrepreneurs with a proven record of success, and therefore positions us to be uniquely able to address this problem. So how does this work? Well, we have a patient population that comes to us who are a mixed bag of high and low risk patients, but we really can't distinguish who are the high risk and low risk patients, so we perform the same interventions for all patients. But with precision medicine and using a tool like kelaHealth, we're able to accurately risk stratify who are the high patients from the low patients and be able to reduce the unnecessary interventions that we're doing for the low risk folks and really target our high impact interventions for our high risk folks that we're worried about. And so you get tailored treatment plans to reduce cost and improve patient outcomes. And we have proof that it works. Our prediction engine was built by doing machine learning on a 4 million patient database, and these machine learning models were validated on over 13,000 Duke patients. And essentially the take-home point of this slide is saying that our prediction abilities are on par or better than many of the diagnostic tests out there. And what's really exciting is that because we do machine learning, as we continue to accrue data and continually learn, we actually get accurate for each health system over time. So we work right in the workflow of the surgeon. Every time a surgeon sees a patient, they're able to pull up kelaHealth right on their EHR tab and pull up the patient's risk profile as well as order interventions directly from our application. The way we distinguish ourselves is that we are doing high-powered, sophisticated, deep learning and fine-tuning methodologies at the point of care. So this is at the point where clinical decisions are being made for every patient. And we have high-powered methodologies similar to IBM Watson, but we're really at the point where we're directly impacting our patients. In the span of less than 2 years, starting as a research idea within Duke, we've really had a lot of progress. We've published our machine learning validations in high-impact journals, and we've presented at national conferences, healthcare and machine learning conferences, as well as gotten recognition in the health innovation ecosystem. And we've gotten a lot of support from surgeons as well as business leaders, both at Duke Surgery and at NSF. We were just awarded the NSF STTR grant, phase 1, and we are currently seeking seed funding. $1 million. We can, yeah.
I mean, 20 million. Okay, one question. It might be from Jillian. Jillian, I think Jillian's ready.
First of all, fantastic. And I've seen a few of these, so 2 questions. Why only $1 million? How are you going to deploy that? Okay. 2, how are you monetizing this? And 3, I'm sorry, 1 question.
That's good.
And
That's
3,
good.
I'll talk to you after this. How about that? Okay. Because I think insurance companies are also looking a lot at this. And so I would think that'd be one of your key customers. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. So why so little?
Okay.
Or why 1? And
So
how
we are
to
based
deploy
in
it?
Durham.
Oh, that's good.
We're able to deploy $1 million very effectively. So the $1 million will give us 1.5 years of runway to have 5 full-time employees.
Turn off your mic, Jillian. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I'm humming.
No.
So the $1 million will give us 1.5 years of runway to employ 5 employees and be able to finish building our enterprise solution, including all the security approval and compliance that a health system needs, as well as run a 1,000-patient randomized control trial. This will set us up to get Duke as our first client. I just came back from a meeting with the chairman of surgery this morning, and seek our second external customer.
Like 5,000 questions.
We can talk offline.
And we don't fund that $1 million offline.
Oh,
perfect.
Very good. Thank you, Jillian. Thank you, Bora. Okay, so we're going to sequester the judges now to go with Chase and Kelly and have 10 minutes to select a winner. So here's what's going to happen next. We're going to do Q&A with the teams. What I mean by that is we're going to bring all the teams up, and anybody in the audience can ask a question to any team. The second thing is we're going to do an open mic, assuming we have time, where anybody in the audience can come up, introduce your startup, introduce yourself if you're looking for a job, introduce your idea for a startup if you're looking for a co-founder, whatever you want to do. It's an open mic after that, and then we're going to have the judges come back and deliberate. And again, the after party is across the street at, what is the name of the place? Epic Roast House. Epic Roast House, 2nd floor of Epic Roast House. I won't buy everyone a drink, but I'll buy some people a drink, especially the volunteers and presenters and panelists. Okay, please, all teams, please come on up here. If you don't mind, yep, everyone, Kevin, everybody, come on up here. And we're going to open questions to anybody in the audience. So all teams, please come up. All right. All right. Do we have any brave souls who want to lead us off with a question? Do you have one? No.
Yeah, I have a question for the Scrumpt founder. What is the cost of a subscription for a week?
It's $36 a week.
Okay, cool.
Oh, wow, that's really good. Thank you for breaking the ice. Next question. Any question, any team? Anybody? Yes, in the back there. So specific.
I actually have a question for Scrumpt as well. I bought my parents a subscription to a meal delivery service, and they were appalled by the packaging and never ordered it again. So present fail on my part. So how do you guys deal with the packaging if you're
We have
shipping
folks
all
send
over?
it back, and about 90% of it is reused over a dozen times. So it's a win for everyone because packaging was actually one of the most expensive things. To keep stuff cold and get it really far away takes a lot of effort. But folks are excited to send it back, and we're excited for the savings. So it's a win for everybody.
Okay, we got a question here.
A question for the kelaHealth idea. So I am a surgeon and I am trying to intervene all the time. So can you give us a couple of examples of what's worked well?
Yeah, so for example, I know some academic hospitals now do 14 days of Lovenox post-op for all of their patients. Lovenox is a blood thinner to prevent like a thrombotic event, like a clot from going to your lungs. And not everyone is high risk for a PE or a clot. And if we're able to risk stratify, say, if you have 100 patients come in, 20 of those patients are actually high risk for thrombotic event. We really concentrate Lovenox and maybe other therapeutic interventions for them, but we don't necessarily need to give blood thinners to those other 80 folks. And blood thinners come with their own risk. So I think being able to really risk stratify at that level is valuable.
How'd you like that answer, sir?
Well, I don't know. Mixed feelings about it.
It's complicated.
You're really not going to intervene on. Everybody knows you better go into surgery if you lose weight.
Yeah.
Unless you get them on a Scrumpt early, they're never going to lose weight. Right? They're all going to stay fat, and they're going to have the complications from it, no matter what you do. Right? So. I think we've identified lots of risk factors, but when we don't intervene, do they do it? That's the big question.
And that's a good use case. So in the pre-op use case, when we're trying to optimize patients for surgery, let's say someone is obese, that puts them at high risk for 5 out of the 9 complication categories that we predict for. I think that's a really valuable educational tool to have at the initial consult with the patient saying, listen, you're red and high risk on 5 out of these 9 complication categories. I don't think you're ready for this operation yet. Let's make sure you optimize your diabetes, get your blood sugars under control, lose weight, etc., and then take another look.
But don't you think we know that now? Putting it into
It's
millions of
true.
data points.
Well, we generally know it, right? But can you accurately have all of the absolute risks for each of those different categories? I think this adds a layer of objectivity that we don't have.
Come to the epic roast house for the epic finale of this debate. I'm going to Scrumpt instead. Okay, next question.
Hi, this question goes to Mitchel from LivingLAB. So essentially you've identified like a 40% margin in terms of rent. But in this case, like you've identified a really good opportunity where there's actually like arbitrage opportunity for you. But how can you ensure that that margin, once renters and like homeowners realize that there's this huge margin, can you protect yourself from that margin being eaten up by like the poor of them and just skip the middleman?
So I completely agree. As the platform grows, you're going to run into that problem. And I would argue that you're just going to eventually have to build it in. So currently we can take advantage of a 48% margin, but in the future it would be something where we take 20% of rent and that's our flat fee.
Very good. Question here.
Okay, this question is for Quilt Data. I just didn't get it. Could you explain exactly how you're going to make money? I just didn't get it.
What's that?
How are you going to make money?
So the real, in fairness, we are still pre-revenue, so you have to, this is all speculative. The biggest source of revenue we've been approached by is companies wanting us to manage their on-prem infrastructure. So they've got tools, and in particular they have data science teams and data engineering teams. And these data scientists are very highly paid, and they get blocked when they need something from the data engineering team who's entirely oversubscribed. What we're building is essentially a service for the data scientists to self-serve from the giant data infrastructure.
That's fine.
Epic debate number 2 at the Epic Roast House. All right. A few more questions. I see one in the back there.
So this is also for Quilt Data, and you mentioned how it doesn't, like, your actual coding environment and your code doesn't matter for what you're doing. And I just had a quick look around your website, and it seems like most of what you've been doing so far is for Python. How are you planning on approaching, for example, people that also use, let's say, R or other things for their data science needs?
Thanks for asking that. We're hoping to launch an R client this summer. We've been focusing completely on Python so far, especially because Python gives us a really convenient bridge into Spark, Python and PySpark, and literally it's the same import statement in those two languages. We would like to find a packager for R. We just haven't found the right people to do it yet. If you know how to do it, find me at Epic Roast House and let's talk about it.
All right. Next question.
This question's for RecoverX. Did you guys change your name?
Yes.
Oh,
we did.
okay.
We were originally Bluebelly, and then it didn't make any sense. So there was a request to change our name, and we agreed.
No, I like the change. But so the question, I thought that was you, but so the question is, now that you guys have gotten it on to some athletes, what's been, I guess, the feedback in terms of, like, I know it's convenient, right, and it's like less messy, right, being a former athlete, I understand that, but in terms of like the recovery itself, what's kind of been the anecdotal feedback from the players you've worked with?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So we originally set out to provide optimum recovery. So I talked about there's a very specific temperature range that tissue should be at to recover, and that was our primary focus. Launching our beta test with professional athletes, we realized their main value was convenience, like we mentioned. And so the issue is not a lot of people ice and not a lot of people heat because it's a huge hassle. Nobody wants to sit down twice a day and for 20 minutes and not do anything. It doesn't fit in their lifestyle. The biggest value proposition we found was that the temperature and convenience switched, and convenience is now the number one. Especially for professional athletes, when we talk to the trainers, their eyes light up and this is a game changer for us because now we can ice on planes. Now we don't have to they were before literally bringing on tubs of ice. And this is completely changing the way that they can now recover immediately after the game.
Answer. Wow, that was good.
One more question. Yes.
This question is for Matt. Matt, what have you seen as being kind of the key reasons why some of your customers have been signing up? I noticed your website's very slick and cool looking. Is it kind of that factor of like new technology adoption, or do they want that home control, or what is it?
I'd say energy security and energy savings are the two main drivers. And the biggest segment is just general home protectors who want the security of continuous power and who want to take control of their energy and have control and use their solar into the night.
Very good. Well, let's give a round of applause to all of our teams. Sit down. Okay. All right, so while we are waiting here, would you rather have an open mic or would you rather just talk amongst friends here? All right, I see one hand. Okay, I advertised the open mic, so I can't go back on that. All right, come on up here. If you want to do the open mic, come on up. Again, you can introduce your company. You can introduce yourself if you want a job. You can introduce your startup idea if you're looking for a co-founder. Whatever you want. Go ahead, Aditya.
Thank you, Avi. Hello, everyone. This is Aditya Sharma. I'm a founder of EduLife. EduLife is an online learning platform which aims to enable high-quality education for students between 6th to 12th grade and for the college graduates who are looking for jobs. So we started back in 2014 and participated in Duke Startup Challenge in 2015 when I was a student at Duke, and we were one of the finalists there. In last year, in 2016, during our beta testing phase, we had 2 million downloads of our mobile app and more than 1 billion screen views per month. And those are real numbers, not fake numbers. So this year we are launching our product with the revenue. We are launching our app with the revenue model in place. So we are looking for people who can help us creating our content in a more engaging way, say with the help of adaptive learning or personalized education, or with the help of gamification or something with the cognitive learning. So if you have any of these technologies or expertise, please reach out to me. We'll be very thankful to you. Thank you so much. And thank you, Howie, for the wonderful evening.
Yeah, thank you. Why don't you say your email address so people can write you?
So my email address is adityasharma@alumni.
It's too long. Wonderful. Perfectly clear. It's if anybody wants to write this down, ADITYA Sharma SHARMA @gmail
at alumni.duke.edu.
At alumni.duke.edu. Just track him down at the After Gross House. Okay, thank you very much. All right.
Here you go, guys. Hi guys, so I'm Sachin. I'm Gaurav. And we are in The Cube, which is Duke's Entrepreneurship Living Group. So if you're looking for another way to get connected with the undergrads at Duke that are most interested in entrepreneurship, then we're another great avenue to do that through, and we'd love for any of you to contact us. So our email address is...
You can contact us at dukethecube@gmail.com. That's actually a Gmail address. And then also you can come up to us afterwards and just talk to us. We'll give you our personal emails. Yeah, we're just like a group of about 27 students right now working on some projects, and a lot of us are working out of American Underground in Durham. Just looking to get contacts out in the valley and come out here and see if we can continue our work. So thank you.
We don't fight, I promise.
Thanks, guys. Sorry I didn't introduce you earlier. These guys are great, so please do reach out. Okay. Any more open mics? One more slot? Mike. Oh, the man. I like it.
We got 4 minutes. What's up, everybody? So Mike, class of '09. I've been in the Valley now about, I guess, 3 years. Jumped out here after a different type of path. I was in Cut Clip's first class, and went on to the NFL. And after playing, came to the Valley, taught myself how to code, design, finished #1 at Draper, and now built my own startup called Win-Win. It's a sports gaming platform that connects fans with their favorite athletes and influencers while raising money for charity. So in short, we work directly with athletes. They host online game tournaments like fantasy sports, playoff pick'em pool, March Madness challenge. You can join that tournament hosted by, let's say, Steph Curry. You make a contribution to a charity chosen by Steph Curry himself. And now what you're competing for is not money, but an experience money can't buy, like having dinner with Steph after a game, or an autographed jersey, courtside seats to Game 5. Which I won't spoil the ending. But yeah, so that's what we do. We just finished up 500 startups, and it's like nostalgic because I was here on this stage 1 year ago, almost I guess to the day, and as Howie mentioned, walked out with about 100 grand, 2 interns, and an employee, which led on to our $1 million round. And just want to say thank you. I think it's a great platform. Congrats to all the startups that pitched. We are raising, as we just came out of 500, and also looking for folks that are ninjas in marketing, customer, user acquisition. Happy to talk at Epic with anybody. Thanks, Alan.
Thank you, Matt. Wonderful. I did see one more hand, so I just want to honor that one more person did want to speak, so I will let him speak, and then we're just going to chill till the judges come back. Hello.
Hey, how many people here have heard of Slack? Use Slack. All right. I'm Bilal. I'm the CTO and founder of Poly. We're one of the top apps on Slack. We help you pull and survey your teammates. So definitely give us a try. We went through Techstars last year, raised $1 million. We're hiring software engineers. So if anybody's interested in writing some code, let me know.
How do they reach out to you?
What's that?
How do they reach out to you?
Poly on the Slack App Store has a contact us. Just go and contact us through there. But contact at poly.ai, Bilal at poly.ai.
Very good. Thank you. Okay, everyone just talk amongst yourselves. We'll be back in a couple minutes. Okay. All right. So, hello everyone. If I can have your attention, please, that'd be great. Thank you. So, each team is going to get feedback from one judge. We're going to do it in the order of the teams here. So, the first team is Cameo, and is going to get feedback from Robert.
So, to the Cameo team, wherever you are.
Right here, right here.
Oh, right here. Right. Can we get quiet in the back?
It's okay. Just give it.
So we thought it was a great pitch, leveraging the emerging market for influencers. But as venture investors, we look for businesses that can scale to millions of people and have an exit of either an acquisition or IPO. And at scale, the brand equity that the influencers would be giving up was something that we had concerns about, whether this could be something that could continue to grow to massive consumers. So we just didn't see the returns that we needed as investors in this space. So that's what we encourage you to think about is how to, beyond consumers posting this on their social media, of how you can combat the diminishing brand equity that the influencers will have by being on the platform.
Wait, so you said that an influencer would post it on their own social media?
No, I'm saying, I heard you in your pitch say that consumers will post this on their media and that combats the diminishing brand equity, but beyond that, it's possible that these go to places that you don't intend them to. Like, if I post on my own Twitter, my Twitter is public, so something might happen to that. So beyond that, how to combat that.
They don't post it to
Further discussion at Epic Roast House tonight and on Arm Wrestle.
Can I just say something? The fact that you didn't explain it clear enough for you to understand it, right? That there is defensibility around this. So this is good for you to know, to say, okay, in our pitch the next time, we should probably make a note of that defensibility.
No, definitely.
Okay, so that was actually good.
Good save, Julian. I like it.
All right. Okay. Next up, Mitchel Gorecki, please come up. And who's giving the feedback to LivingLAB? Bob, come on up. Mitchel is right there.
Yes, Mitchel, very impressive. We were all universally impressed with your command of the business model. We also, we spent a lot of time talking about the market itself, and so in particular at this stage of the company's life cycle, early stage, it's all about product market fit. We think it's a huge market, but it's extremely fragmented, and then we sort of talked about, oh boy, the cost of how you actually go and scale this business. What does that look like? And so it was one of those presentations, I think, that evoked the right set of sort of questions, concerns, comments, etc. And there really wasn't enough time to talk about it all. One thing, though, that I think, just this reflects is really having the need to have a clear understanding of how you're going to go to market and actually build the business and scale. So, thank you.
Perfect. Very good. Thank you. Okay, Kevin, come on up. Quilt Data. Yeah. All right. John.
So first of all, good job. We had a little trouble kind of understanding the use case. Okay, so I have a little bit of background in what you're doing, so I kind of get it. I think the world is going that way. So packaging up the data is kind of in parallel to the way processing world is working. And I think for a lot of data architects especially, they're going to appreciate the value. But we had trouble kind of contextualizing that, right, to a use case. Who is this going to matter to enough so they might change the way they architect their systems. So I'd encourage you in the future to try to do that. I know 4 minutes is not a lot of time, but in the future to try to maybe just pick out some specific cases where you can say this is how we would kind of change the paradigm and the way things are designed.
Very good. Thank you. Let's give a round of applause. Scrumpt. All right, you now.
Hi, your name is Bri, right? Yep. Great job with the presentation. We really loved your energy. You came off really charismatic. And one of the points that we made was that if you're investing in entrepreneurs this early, it would be all about the entrepreneur. And that was like one of the really strong factor about your presentation. We really love that you knew your numbers. Also, my business is also subscription, so knowing that your subscription, like especially month 1 retention rate, looks great. Some of the challenges and questions that were raised was number 1, distribution, especially if they're perishable goods. Any player that would have the most distribution or network would win this game. So that was like one of the challenges. Second was question around customer acquisition costs, especially given some of the examples out there and the lack of data. So, but overall, really great job.
Very good. We're going to bring up Matt Rising. Okay, Swell Energy.
Hey Matt, we really enjoyed the presentation. I think on a overall basis, we were very impressed with what you guys have built, especially with the fact that you have a good amount of traction already. I think it was 5 or 7 million of revenue or so and 500 customers, if I'm not mistaken. It's really impressive for someone in your shoes, and a lot of the companies that we've seen in the space actually don't have any or that substantial revenue, so that's great for you guys. I think going forward, differentiation is going to be super important, and there are, companies of your nature could be a dime a dozen in terms of starting up, getting up to speed, getting enough of a network into place to start to expand. How you guys really differentiate yourselves will be very important, and that's something to think about, because if Tesla, for example, thought about ways to further develop its distribution network with its batteries along with a service layer on top of that, could that be competitive, et cetera? Also on the presentation side, I think tightening up the presentation in terms of how you guys are really going to drive costs down, how you're going to expand, what's the secret sauce is really important, and I think that could be something you improve on next time. But overall, very well done.
Thank you, Sunny. Okay, RecoverX, yes, Tim.
So I think one thing that you got down right was when you said, let's bring us out of the ice age. It kind of resonated because you had a tagline that branded you as what you were doing. It's very easy to understand, and I encourage people to think about that and how to insert something in your mind that says, oh yeah, I know what you're talking about right up front, so you ground it. On the solution side, I think what you're doing is you bought a couple of thermoelectric devices and stuck them in a wrapper. And so that was like, I was confused about how do you differentiate that? And then secondly, the algorithm side, there was no correlation study. So by having the right temperature control, hot to cold, if I fractured my knee, if I broke my knee, if I did this or that, I didn't see any data that said I actually have a better outcome. So I was left with those gaps in your presentation. But overall, I like the initial thing. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Okay, in-video impressions, Song.
Hi. So great pitch, definitely caught my attention right off the bat. And I think, for this kind of space, team is really important, especially at the stage that you guys are at. So highlighting, I think it was like mentioned kind of tagline at the very end when hearing about your background up front would really lend a lot of credibility and authority to kind of the pitch that you guys were making. And as someone, I've spent some time with our NBCU digital teams and properties, so I kind of know the space a little bit. And so I think it's important to highlight the product differentiation. I say product, not tech. in that, it sounds like the value you guys are really creating for your, potential customers is in the aggregation, contextualization, and some of the insights. And so leading with the, vision and AI and that angled, I think doesn't do the breadth of your capabilities, the full service that it could have done. So I think that's a good way to frame it. And then I think the last thing is, in this kind of space where there are, dinosaurs, existing incumbent players, you yourself have worked at some, it's important to kind of, not pay a nod to those incumbents and explain why this isn't something that they could just rev up and kind of create internally, like what's really preventing them from innovating in this area, and that's the advantage and kind of like the market opportunity that you guys are addressing. But great job.
Thank you. Thank you, Chang. Okay, Protean.
Just you, yeah. So, okay, so great job. Very interesting vision. This is like exactly what I was talking about, is like big ideas where you clearly identified a problem. Your daughter has this diverse set of options where she's learning and they're not integrated. So definitely commend you for that. One piece of feedback though, so by definition, what you're building really is, I guess it's a three-sided, potentially four-sided network, right? You've got students, employers, like education partners, and schools, right? So four sides of that network. And every side that you add to a network as you build it makes it exponentially harder to scale. And so explaining kind of how you solve that cold start problem will really help you guys, I think, get investors comfortable, if you are raising, which it sounds like you are, get investors comfortable with kind of making sure that they know that like this is not just going to be a big customer acquisition cost game. Because it's very hard to scale a network, for one, and it's very hard to make money off of a network, especially one that's inherently social, which is what you guys are building. So I would just encourage you to think about those elements of the business and make sure it comes through in the pitch. And then the other thing I would say is check out, so it's actually alluded to here, check out the Muse. They've done this well, three-sided network also, employers, students, and schools. And they are building something similar, more from an employment perspective, less from an education perspective, but they've done it well, and they would definitely be good people to learn from.
Thank you. Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you, Brad. And last up, kelaHealth, and then we're going to announce the winner.
Okay, so of all the companies here, I think you have the ability to make the greatest financial and social impact. And we really think that this is, of all the companies here, this is the company that's going to scale. I'm also going to be very brutally honest with you, because in order for you to scale, there are certain things you need to recognize. The role of a founder is very different from the role of a CEO. And this is an advice that Larry and Sergey took, and that's why the Google is where it is. This company is going to grow so fast on you that you will need a professional, experienced CEO and a huge team to really handle that scale. And I think that is, if I were to put my own money, that's the only advice that I would have. Otherwise, you have greatest potential, and it's an amazing field that you're in. I know Catherine Hiller, so a lot of people talk about machine learning. She knows machine learning. Everybody and their brother is kind of saying big data, machine learning these days, and sister. And nobody really knows it. Catherine Hiller does know it.
So part and parcel of that, that goes back to the raise. So when you're dealing with something that has such tremendous scale, and you are going to need a much bigger team, they're going to need much bigger salaries. And so I think 1 million is so small, and I think you need to reverse engineer this a bit more. Where do you see yourself in 3 years, and then move back from that? Who are you going to have to hire in 2 years? Who right now? I'm not saying that you're not completely capable, but I do think that we see this as one of the biggest problems for founders, obviously. And I also think that it might be a good idea to add sort of the relevance in terms of the macro picture of this, because the NIH has a mandate under Obama that is driving towards precision medicine, right? And this is directly answering that need as a nation. So it's the macro as well as the micro. And I think that this is has tremendous merit. And I think your presentation was spot on.
So other than money and time, I think both Jillian and I are happy to spend our time on it, and that's even more valuable because we can invest money in and offer different companies, but it's very difficult to spend time. I'm right there in Durham, happy to talk.
Yeah. Oh wait, and one other thing. No, this is all for all.
We are excited.
No, but this is for all of you. This is for all of you. The composition of the seed rounds are absolutely critical because it has nothing to do about the money, and you all know that. It talks about you need strategic investors who are willing to roll up their sleeves. I always say that funders, early stage funders are founders, and we are in, knee deep. And so I think that when you're starting to look at the composition of 1 million or 3 million, whatever it is, you really need to start looking at where do I need help, okay? Who's going to identify some high-level talent for me, and so on and so forth. And so that's part and parcel of all of this. Okay, that's all I have to say. And don't tell me who won. We have no idea who won tonight, but okay.
We don't know who won the Warriors
Warriors
game.
I'm sorry, we do know who won.
But we do know who won this event, and so who would like to announce it? Diana.
Thanks. So I'm excited to announce the top 3 and the winners of today's competition. So the second runner-up is Scrumpt. Congratulations. The first runner-up is kelaHealth. And the winner is, and the Oscar goes to, Swell. Congrats.
Okay, well, if we could get Swell, Scrumpt, and kelaHealth up here for a photo with the judges. Judges, please come to the center. We're just going to do